Imagine you're sitting in a movie theater. It's dark all around, only the soft flickering of light on the screen. And suddenly a little man appears in two big shoes, a tight jacket, a small mustache, and a strange but funny gait. He doesn't say anything, but you laugh so hard that your stomach hurts, and then you suddenly find yourself with tears in your eyes. Here he is, Charlie Chaplin, the man who taught the world to laugh without words. The man who knew how to hide a piece of his pain in every scene and present it to the world as laughter. But let's be honest, this story is not just about movies. It's about something more. About strength of spirit. About a business that started from nothing and changed an entire industry. About a child who survived hunger and humiliation to one day make the whole world applaud. This will be the story of a man whom many wanted to break, but who found the strength to rise again and again. Chaplin is not just an actor. He is a symbol that you can walk through the darkness and bring light, that you can lose everything and still be yourself. His life is a mosaic of poverty and wealth, applause and insults, laughter and bitter tears. He has it all: struggle, betrayal, triumph, and exile. And that is why his legacy is alive even today, decades after he last took to the stage. Think about it. How is it possible that silent films made 100 years ago still make us laugh and cry? How is it possible that a man who grew up in poverty on the streets of London managed to become the face of world cinema and the voice of millions? His secret is simple and at the same time incredible. He never gave up. He always believed that art could change the heart of a person. This story will teach us that success is not only about talents and opportunities. It is the ability not to break when everything is against you. It is the ability to turn your own pain into a gift for the world. And we will walk this path together, from a small stage in London to Hollywood studios, from a homeless boy to a knight of the British Empire. So listen carefully, because in the end, I will share the lessons that Charlie left for each of us. They will be simple but powerful principles. Start small, dream big. Don't give up in the face of crisis. Turn defeat into fuel. Always look for a way, not an excuse. And if you've ever felt that life is too hard, that no one believes in you, that all doors are closed, this story will show you that even from the darkest corner you can reach the light. Because Charlie Chaplin is proof. Laughter is stronger than pain, and the human spirit is invincible. London, late 19th century. Imagine streets filled with the smell of coal and smoke, people working to exhaustion, and children wandering barefoot through markets and factories. Among these children was little Charlie Chaplin. He was born on April 16, 1889, into a family of artists, but the name sounded louder than it actually was. His father, singer Charles Chaplin Sr., seemed to be able to give his son an example and stability. But instead, he abandoned his family, succumbing to alcohol. He disappeared, leaving his wife and children to fend for themselves. Charlie's mother, Anna, was a talented singer, but life was not kind to her. She tried to earn a living singing in small halls, but there was a catastrophic lack of money. Imagine a woman who goes to performances in the evenings, and during the day tries to feed two boys, Charlie and his older brother Sidney. But more often than not, the table was empty. Their rooms changed one after another, cramped, damp, with leaky roofs, where the wind pierced to the bones. Chaplin's childhood was not like childhood. It was survival. He knew the taste of hunger well. Sometimes he had to look for food on the street. Sometimes he had to wait for mercy from neighbors. Imagine a little boy looking at other children holding a piece of bread in their hands and clutching his empty stomach. But despite everything, Charlie already knew how to smile. It was his weapon against reality. His way of saying, "I will not give up." It was these years that laid the foundation for his future films. Because where does sincere laughter come from? Often from the greatest darkness. And Charlie learned to laugh through pain. He saw his mother's suffering, felt cold nights without a blanket, heard mockery from strangers who considered their family worthless. But in this chaos, talent was born. The ability to observe, feel, notice the small details of human life. While other children played in the yard, Charlie learned to survive. He dreamed of warmth and food, but even more of the stage. Because the stage was the place where he felt that the world could be different, where his pain could turn into laughter. Now we see a legend who conquered Hollywood. But back then he was just a hungry boy from London, who often didn't even have a pair of shoes. And this is a contrast that is always worth remembering. Great things start small, and the greatest victories are often born from the worst defeats. So when we look at his famous tramp in old movies today, we have to understand that this character is not fictional. He grew up right out of Charlie's life. The tramp is a little boy from London who knew what cold, hunger, and loneliness were. It is a symbol of his childhood. And it is from this darkness, from these sulphurous streets, that the true legend begins. Imagine a stuffy little theater in London. The air smells of cheap tobacco and dust, and in the hall sits a tired audience who have come to distract themselves from the hard life. On the stage is Anna, Charlie's mother. She sings, trying to keep the audience's attention, but her voice suddenly begins to give out. The notes break, the singing becomes hoarse, and the hall begins to buzz. Some laugh, some shout something offensive. Now imagine a little boy, 5-year-old Charlie, standing backstage watching all this. He's in pain, watching his mother lower her eyes and tremble with shame. And then a moment happens that will change his life forever. Little Charlie goes on stage. He begins to sing and dance, as he has seen street performers do. At first, the audience is surprised. What is a child doing on stage? But after a moment, laughter and applause erupt. Charlie makes funny movements, and people forget about his mother's unsuccessful performance. They are already looking only at him. At that moment, he feels magic, the laughter born from his movements, the warmth of applause, the looks full of joy. It was the first time he understood that a scene could save. It could turn pain into something bright. The little boy who had been looking for food on the street just yesterday suddenly discovered a power within himself that could change his life. He learned the most important thing. Even when everything around him is falling apart, laughter can lift him up. This incident became not just a childhood memory, but the first step in his destiny. Because the stage will forever remain a place for him where he feels at home. And more importantly, he saw that laughter heals. Not only the audience, but also himself. From that moment on, Charlie became obsessed with the stage. He began to copy street performers, repeating their gestures, catching the rhythm in every step. For him, it was not just a game. It was a way of life, a way to escape from the darkness. It's interesting that the audience that evening saw just a funny boy. But you and I know, he was a born artist. The same one who in a few decades would become a symbol of world cinema. This scene is like a small prophecy. The mother's cry on stage turned into the child's laughter. And it will always be like this. From every pain, Chaplin knew how to create something that gives hope. And that's why we can't call this episode a coincidence. It was fate. The fate of a boy who felt for the first time that even the darkest moment could be the beginning of a bright path. Life gave Charlie no respite. It seemed that after that first scene, after the laughter and applause, fate should finally give him a ray of light. But no, she again threw up trials that could break anyone. His mother, Anna, was the only pillar in his life, even despite poverty and despair. She was the one who at least tried to create a sense of home for her children. But over the years, her health began to fail. At first, it was little things. She was losing strength, resting longer. And then it became clear, something serious. Her psyche was collapsing. Her voice, her main weapon, disappeared forever. And the worst thing, she began to lose herself. When Charlie was 10, the doctors decided Anna should be sent to a psychiatric hospital. Imagine this moment. A little boy stands at the hospital door, holding his mother's hand, as the orderlies take her away from him. He screams. He doesn't understand why they are taking away his only support. The door closes, and he is left outside, alone. From now on, Charlie and his brother Sidney became street children. They lived as best they could, sometimes in shelters, sometimes just in the open air. Imagine a boy wandering the streets of London in search of food. He looks into garbage cans, catches the smell of hot bread from the bakery, and clutches his empty stomach. For him, every day was a struggle. And yet, even in this struggle, there was a spark. Charlie learned to laugh at his own misfortune. He made faces, joked with his brother, copied passers-by, to cheer at least the two of them. It was their only refuge, laughter. Where there was no home, laughter became a roof. Where there was no bread, it gave at least a feeling of warmth. This period made Chaplin who he became. He knew the bottom. He knew what it was like to be hungry, lonely, rejected. And that's why later, when he created the image of the tramp, He did it not as a caricature, but as the truth. The tramp was a reflection of his own life. Funny, but always with a shadow of sadness in his eyes. A man who gets beaten, but who gets up again. Could it have been imagined then that this little homeless boy would become a man the whole world would know? No, no one believed in him. But it was during those years that his resilience was born, his ability to rise after every blow. Because, to tell the truth, that was when Charlie made his first choice. He could have broken down, gone down the path of thieves and drunkards, like so many other street kids. Or he could have kept in his heart the dream of the stage. And he chose the second. He kept this dream, like a little light in his pocket, and carried it through everything. And here a new stage in his life begins. Fate will test him more than once, but now he has something that cannot be taken away, the belief that laughter can save the world. Years passed, and the world of cinema changed. New actors, new technologies, new idols appeared. But the image of the little tramp with a hat and a cane never disappeared. Because he was not just a hero. He was a reflection of the human soul itself, in our clumsiness, in our falls, in our ability to laugh through pain. Chaplin lived a long life. He received an Oscar for his contribution to cinema, and when the entire hall rose to its feet and applauded him longer than anyone in history, he was already an old man, smiling softly. It was not a victory over Hollywood or politics. It was a victory over time. His journey showed us a simple truth. You can be born into poverty, lose your childhood, become an exile, but if you have the courage to be yourself, the world will hear your voice. Even if that voice is heard for the first time after decades of silence. Today we watch his films and laugh, but behind every smile is a reminder. Laughter is also a weapon. It can heal, it can unite, it can change history. And Charlie Chaplin proved this to the whole world. So his legacy is not just black and white film footage. It is the belief that even the darkest path can lead to light. That even the smallest tramp can become the greatest symbol of humanity. And that we, each of us, have the power to give the world a little laughter, even when we ourselves feel like crying. Because Chaplin left us with the most important lesson. True greatness begins where you learn to laugh at yourself and keep going, even when the whole world is against you.